Thank you all for joining us today. I'm Jenna Momozo, Deputy Director of Staten Island Arts. I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge the physical land on which some of us are gathering today, which is occupied territory. Pagank, now known as Governor's Island, is the traditional and ancestral home of the Lenape people. If you're calling in from somewhere else and you'd like to acknowledge the land you are currently on, please do so in the chat now. As we are meeting virtually, I would also like to offer a digital land acknowledgement written by Adrian Wong of Spiderweb Show in Ontario, Canada. Since our activities are shared digitally to the internet, let's also take a moment to consider the legacy of colonization embedded within the technologies, structures, and ways of thinking that we use every day. We are using equipment and high-speed internet not available in many indigenous communities. Even the technologies that are central to much of the art that we make leave significant carbon footprints, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect indigenous peoples worldwide. I invite you to join me in acknowledging all this, as well as our shared responsibility to make good of this time, and for each of us to consider our roles in reconciliation, decolonization, and allyship. Thank you.
Welcome to this special edition from the G Project. My name is Edward Hillel. I am an artist. I am the artistic director and founder of Immigrants Are Us, the Generation Project, which we call the G Project. The G Project is based on the idea that we are all Gs. We are all of a generation. We are all immigrants who come from somewhere at a certain time in the past. A G0, like me, is someone who was born elsewhere. In my case, I was born in Baghdad, in Iraq. I have my Babylonian heritage goes back 2,700 years to the early Hebrews who were enslaved for 600 years in Egypt. And 3,000 years later, here I am in New York City. And the G Project has been a very important aspect of my work, actually, over the last 5 years. As an artist, my work focuses on a lot of social issues and questions of justice and equity. And looking at our communities from the point of view of immigration and immigrants allows us to tell positive stories. Because the story of immigrants is the story of resilience, and the story of getting things done, moving forward, working together. And I believe at a time like this, with the pandemic, with all the different issues we're dealing with in society, locally, nationally, and globally, speaking in positive ways about the places we live in and the people around us is the right way to be an artist. Today we're here on Governor's Island, and we are launching a summer-long program called the G Pop-In. And this project is a partnership, actually, with the Mayor's Office. This is our third year working with the Mayor's Office and the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. And they've been extremely kind and helpful throughout. And it's a collaboration with ArtCrawl Harlem, which is a wonderful community organization, arts organization that has been working in Harlem and throughout New York City over the past several years, working with artists on various community projects. And this is what we're doing today. So thank you for being with us. And please do go and look at our social media, look at our website, participate, tell us your stories, send us your artwork. We're only growing and getting bigger with your help. Thank you.
Immigrants Are Us, the G Project.
I am here today getting my G status or understanding it. And it's always nice to be able to talk about how you're connected to the world.
Question number one, did you, your parents, or grandparents come from another country? If yes, where? If no, do you know where your people were from before the United States? Are you a Native American, American Indian?
You can use words, you can use stick figures, you can just use colors, whatever you feel like you want to do.
As African Americans, many of us are not aware of our ancestral origins before these shores. And I said that on one side of my family, we had traced back to Ivory Coast.
I thought it was important to make the time to be a part of this project because immigrants are our friends, they're our neighbors, they're our co-workers, they are who we are.
G stands for generation, and so we are all Gs, and depending on how far back our ancestry goes, defines what numerical status of Gs we are. So for instance, I was born in Iraq, so I'm a G0.
I did share that I have one grandfather from Barbados, but that everybody else is from the United States, but the G status is, I call it for myself, 8 with a question mark.
Yeah, so my grandparents came from Italy, but they had immigrated from another country before they went to Italy.
What is an immigrant? We throw the word out. I heard it this week, I heard it maybe 50 times. This is a work session. This is not a seminar. And you're going to teach us and help us make this a better project.
What was it like of just absorbing and engrossing and getting everyone's feelings and wrote into how you were sharing out with us?
I was made to feel like a foreigner, not in a negative way, but I realized that you have to open your mind to people from another place.
This project is a really great way of us actually really understanding some of the things that we just don't really know as a whole.
We are creating art together. And it's just like when you go vote, you get a little sticker, I voted today. So today you came to Immigrants Are Us and part of the G Project.
I enjoyed being here. I enjoyed meeting the other people who were willing to offer who they were and how they're connected to the world.
I have been enlightened by the experience.
I think this is nothing if not timely.
During March and April, it was our roughest month. We started noticing some of our patients with diabetes, their sugar started elevating. They have trouble breathing. I'm listening to their lungs, and I hear crackles. And we're scared ourselves. We don't really want to spread this or catch any of this or bring it home or bring it to other patients. My name is Man Hong Wan. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I came into this country in 1972 from Hong Kong, Kowloon, Hong Kong. I work for community care, which is New York City Health and Hospitals, so we serve everyone, and no matter what nationality, creed, sex, gender, whether you're documented or not. If you need us, we're there. I became a community nurse in April of 2018 because I wanted to go a little beyond the hospital setting and see what I can do for the community before they end up in the hospital. I work in this community in Chinatown, Manhattan, and through this area to the Lower East Side. Down in this area, I'm able to communicate with the Asian community. They weren't able to speak English or understand English that well. Even though I'm Hakka, I spoke a little bit of Cantonese, a little bit of English, so that's how we communicate. But even though I don't speak their dialect, I find that there's a connection because I understand their culture, and they're more open and they're more at ease. One of the main things during COVID is they couldn't get their medication. And you would have to go above and beyond. I mean, I had to go and pick up medication from the pharmacy. I ended up calling different doctors that would help me. A lot of them were very busy themselves during the COVID, but some were, that I was working with in the past were willing to help, say, no problem, I know this patient. It's teamwork, you can't just do it alone. And I was trying to pull everyone together. And sometimes it was other reasons, so psychologically, they weren't getting visitors. As a community nurse, we develop a better rapport because we have the time to sit there. And I actually teach some of them that had iPhones to use, FaceTime, so you could see your loved ones now. is rewarding to see that you made a difference and see someone get better. And so you discharge them. Can't even describe the joy we feel when we know that we took part of that. And now as a preceptor, it offers me the opportunity to teach the new nurses coming into community nursing, because we should be learning from each other, because New York is like a salad bowl. We have different communities in different areas, and we should be learning from one another. And this is why I want to teach my nurses that are coming in how we can change this community, one patient at a time, and spread the love, I guess.
Many resources are available for all New Yorkers. Your immigration status does not matter. For more information, go to nyc.gov/immigrants.
My name is Lorna Harris, and I am the executive producer of Immigrants Are Us, the Generation Project. When I came on board, I was completely ignorant of what my G status was. In fact, I had no idea what a G status is. So in learning to determine what that G status is, it really bolstered my self-identity. It really gave me a connection to my pedigree and who I am as a human being on this earth and where I came from. So, as I said before, I'm a G7. If I didn't share it with you, I'm a G7. My family, my ancestors, I am a descendant of enslaved Africans, and shortly after the Civil War, they were granted property. And they started a community called Ross Hill. That property is still there in Chickasaw County, Mississippi, and it's my roots. My family moved north in 1918, and we had to for many reasons. And many people migrated from the south to the north for better opportunities, and my family was one of them. But with that history, it gave me a sense of pride. It gave me a sense of knowledge. It gave me a sense of, as Edward said before me, community building. So my job, my duties, my responsibilities to building community align perfectly with the G Project. So the Harlem Arts Foundation, which is the auspices of the project, is about building community. It's about reaching out and making connections within the community of Harlem, but also throughout the world. So my job is to operationalize the programs, to drive this project forward, and of course, to raise some money. The G Project is celebrating Immigrant Heritage Week with a 7-month residency in collaboration with ArtCrawl Harlem on Governor's Island. What an important historic location. Governor's Island sits in the harbor, the New York City harbor, and is surrounded by water, but it also has Lady Liberty. Yes, the Statue of Liberty is in the New York City harbor. We know that thousands and thousands of people passed through, and once they got here, they all went on to live their lives and create the stories that we know today or that we're hoping to share today. So throughout this project, we have artists. There's been 3 selected artists through jurors for ArtCrawl Harlem, and they will be there in residence, but also the G Project is there to share our space. We have a wall where you'll be able to participate by recording your story, even designing a card, your own artwork to hang on our wall. Again, I welcome you to this event to celebrate Immigrant Heritage Week 2021 with us, the Generation Project. Thank you so much.
Immigration, again, if we're going to be a new majority, and immigration is raging, then our Latino brothers and sisters are our cousins. These are our relatives. But I also knew this, that racism was trying to tear us apart. And so, when I would talk to African Americans, she says, oh, well, you know, people try to take our jobs, you know, these low-wage jobs. I'm like, you know what? I am not going to try to have someone come to realizing that immigration reform is a human rights issue, is a civil rights issue. You know why? Because I know too many black folks that have immigrants in their background hiding in plain sight. And so I said, we have a whole generation. And I was trying to be clever with the kids, you know how they talk about G's and OGs. So I said, what do I need? I want to appeal to older folks and to the new generation. And therefore the G Project was born, which is to make visible those of us who have mothers, fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, who can identify with the ancestors and the immigrants in our background. And so it was a different way for me to get African Americans to talk about their immigration status. Anytime you've got Colin Powell, Nicki Minaj, and any number of writers, poets, scientists, who in this country, looking at the surface, you're just black. Well, black is deeper and more diverse. And so the G Project, the Generation Project, is to surface that immigrant connection.
Hello, my name is Doji Bedema, and my G status is 0. An interesting encounter that I had here in New York City when I moved from West Africa was that as an immigrant, I drove a cab for 7 years. And one day I picked up a passenger. She was totally different from me. She was Caucasian, raised in Massachusetts. But back in the 90s, in a cab, it always gets very hot in the back in the summertime. So I invited her to sit in the front. She sat in the front and we were on our way to Penn Station. And I remember we had a great conversation. We got to talk about our backgrounds. We got to know each other. And that experience stayed with me because I think people from different backgrounds can come together by trying to get to know each other. And as soon as they know each other's background, there is this communication that happened, this thing that happened since we are all human beings and there's only one human race. We get to know each other and we can live in a better society.
Hi, my name is Ulysses Scott Williams and I'm the Executive Director of ArtCrawl Harlem. At ArtCrawl Harlem, our mission is to support and share the growing legacy of art as it relates to Harlem and the still thriving community of artists and creatives in New York City. I'm excited to share with you that we will also continue our partnership with the G Project and the What's Your Generational Status program. It's been a pleasure to work with Lorna Harris, Edward Halil, Richard Pelzer, and of course, Alyssa Kritzman. Throughout the summer, ArtCrawl Harlem and the G Project invite you to visit the Boundaries and Connections Artist Residency House on Nolan Park on Governor's Island and share your generational status. The G Project will install an interactive art wall designed for you to answer, what is your G status? How you came to be where you are today. Storytelling is an art form, and the sharing of your story can change someone else's life and create common bonds. This all kicks off during New York City Immigration Heritage Week with the G Project's virtual program titled Pop In on Governor's Island. You go to thegproject.org for more information. As I mentioned, ArtCrawl Harlem is returning to Governor's Island for our second artist residency program entitled Boundaries and Connections. We have selected 3 amazingly talented New York City-based artists as our residents. They include photographer and portrait artist Michael Obele, painter and mixed media artist Mario Joyce, and mixed media artist Melissa Sutherland. Each artist has been awarded a 6-week residency program where they will create a series of work concentrating on the theme art and activism. On designated weekends, each artist will host open studios so that they can invite the public at large. Please go to artcrawlharlem.org for more information. 2020, and even now, has been challenging for all of us. Soon we will return to some sense of normal, or maybe a new normal. So mask up and visit ArtCrawl Harlem, the G Project, and our extraordinary artists in residence this summer and into the early fall. For more information, visit gproject.org and artcrawlharlem.org. In closing, I encourage you to continue to explore, experience, and appreciate art. We look forward to seeing you on Governor's Island and in the great Upper Manhattan town of Harlem, USA. Now I want to hand it over to Richard E. Pelzer II.
Thank you, Ulysses. My name is Richard E. Pelzer II, and I am the Communications and Marketing Director for the G Project. I am a G6. I'm very excited and proud to say on both sides of my family, on my mom's side and my dad's side, I can count back 6 generations. When I was growing up with my 2 sisters and my mom and dad, my great-grandmother on my father's side lived with us, and she shared in the early 1900s that they migrated from South Carolina to Philadelphia to give the family a better life. With that actually said, this is what this project is really all about. During the pandemic, we actually had a very hard time on connecting, and I was really proud and excited to share this project with so many people.
Hey G Session viewers, my name is Alyssa Kritzman and I'm the design director for G Project, which is a public art campaign transforming negative ideas about immigrants. Because after all, we are all immigrants. Everyone has a personal journey and story about how their family found themselves in the US. Like myself, I'm a G1 on my father's side and then a G2 on my mother's side. So what does that mean? G0 means you came from elsewhere. G1, your parents were born elsewhere and you were born here. G2 is that your parents were born here, but their parents were born elsewhere, and so forth. So for season 3, we are very excited because we are inviting our previous G Session guests to invite someone that they know and interview them to ask the big question: what is your G status? The cool thing about this is we are now creating a web of immigrant stories that are truly connected through storytelling and personal artifacts. So without further ado, please have a listen to today's session. And at the end of the video, my colleague, Richard Pelzer, will let you know how you can participate and keep up with our project.
Thank you, Alyssa. Hi, everyone. My name is Carlos Dominguez. I am a designer. I was a guest on season 2, and I am back to host season 3 finale. And I wanted to welcome you all. Me encantaría presentarles a mi invitada de hoy. Ella se llama Brittany Acosta. Hola, Brittany. ¿Cómo estás?
Hey, Carlos. How are you?
Good. And you?
Good. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yay. I'm so excited to have you here. So I guess, let's touch base on how do we know each other? So we're very family friends and we're related in a really close sense. So I just wanted to kind of touch base on how we know each other. We go back, Brittany is actually married to my cousin, and we know each other since we were really, very, very young. Well, she's known me when I was very young, and now she has 2 kids and married to my cousin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I met his cousin when we were 15, so high school sweethearts. So I've known Carlos for a really long time, so I'm super excited that he gets to host this and I get to sit here and have this nice chat with him.
Yay. And so I guess my next question is, what do you do? What are you currently working on? Any kind of fun things that you can tell us about your job and what you do now?
Sure. Yeah. So I graduated college a while ago, long enough ago, from Central Connecticut State University with a bachelor's in business management. After I graduated, I went into a healthcare analyst role at a company in Stamford, Connecticut, and realized that, like, man, like I really like talking to people and interacting, and I was in Excel all the time. So I was like, okay, I need to do something else. So moved into a more customer-facing role at a small mining company in Connecticut, which is very random from healthcare. After doing that for a little bit, I found my new role that I've been in for about 8 years. So with Indeed, so the job search website, this summer will be 8 years at Indeed. So I've done various roles within the company, and I'm currently a manager of client success within our enterprise inside sales segment. So working with larger companies. So I'm really loving it. I think we'll talk a little bit more about work later too, but I'll save that for that. So I love the company and I love what I do now. So I'm super, super happy with it.
When you were little, did you, growing up and having parents that were not American, was there something, that you spoke to with your friends and like something, that was different from their culture to yours?
Yeah, I think I laugh. So probably I'd say food would be the number one thing. So like I love food, as do most people. And I love Jamaican food. My mom is an excellent cook. Highly recommend. I remember specifically, it was 9th grade at my school. And that school, 9th grade, you're a senior technically. So within the senior yearbook, you have to put different facts about yourself. One of those was, what's your favorite food? And I was like, man, my real favorite food is it's stew peas, it's called. So my mom makes it all the time. It's technically like red kidney beans with gravy and rice and dumplings. It's so good. But I'm like, I go to a small private school in Connecticut. No one's going to know what stew peas is. So I ended up putting Chinese takeout as my favorite food just to, as much as I love it, I'm like, people probably wouldn't understand unless they've had it or they're from the culture. So that's something that seems so small, but has really stuck with me for a long time. I was like, man, like now, and I mean, now that I'm older, wiser, have my own kids, I would 100% encourage my kids. If stew peas is your favorite food, you put stew peas as your favorite food. And if people have questions, it's just an opportunity for them to ask you and to learn more.
Yeah. Move on to my next question. So I wanted to ask if you have a family heirloom or some type of object or photo or something about your past that we would love to see, and if you'd like to share with us.
Sure. So I gave a little sneak peek into it before. So I actually was trying to find a picture. I found the picture that I wanted, but not a physical copy. So I'll just talk about it a bit. So the picture that I wanted to share was of me and my great-grandmother at my wedding. So I have been fortunate enough in my life to know technically 4 great-grandparents in my life. So 2 I knew throughout childhood, and they lived in Jamaica, and we would visit annually when I was a child. So I got to know them when I was younger before they passed. And then my other 2 great-grandmothers, so one from my father's side, one from my mother's side, I knew through my entire adult life up until honestly just a few years ago when they both passed. So that the picture of, so it's Mama Jane. So Mama is on my dad's side. So it's my grandmother's mother. So Mama, especially since she lives so close to us, she like after school, instead of having a babysitter, like my mom or dad, whoever picked me up from school, I'd go to Mama's house and she was my babysitter. So I spent so much time with her, learning from her and just being around her. And when I didn't realize that so many people don't get that opportunity to know great grandparents. It was just so normal for me. She lived to be 100 years old.
Wow.
100. And she was honestly, like, she was just the best. So, and my mom reminded me right before this that when I was maybe 5 years old, I guess you would complain like, why do you always leave me to stay with old people? And I would complain about it when I was little. Like everyone gets like nannies or babysitters and gets to go play with friends, and I have to go stay with the old people. But little did I know how much, now that I'm, you know, older, that how much I'd really cherish those moments, and how lots of people, again, didn't have that opportunity to meet and actually like really live and get to know their great grandparents. So yeah, she 100 years old. So I'll be that lucky.
Yeah, that's, I mean, she's a tough cookie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's important to be able to kind of know and have that connection with your roots, and especially your great grandmother. But we are out of time for today, and it was such a pleasure having you, Brittany, and it was good seeing you from a short distance, but from a text standpoint, we're on a screen, but we're not too far away from each other.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being with us today at the G sessions, and that's about it for today, everyone. Thank you for watching, and take it away, Richard.
I want to thank all of our past guests and hosts that shared their stories with us. What I've discovered while working on the G Project is that it's an amazing place to celebrate our differences and discover our sameness. Working on this project has opened my eyes to understanding people that look different than me, that sound different than me, that have different beliefs, that we all can win. And I'm hopeful and excited to be living here in America, to continue to share, to grow, to explore all the amazing possibilities.
When the pandemic first hit, everyone was really devastated, and how are we going to be able to communicate? And so I got on the internet and figured out what can be done. My name is Claudia Verdnier, and I live in Brooklyn, New York.
And I'm the director at the Community Medicine Program in Park Slope Family Health Center at NYU Langone in Brooklyn.
I believe it was 1971, 1972, and I came into the United States with my grandmother. We arrived from Haiti, Port-au-Prince, Haiti. My grandmother's motto is saved to serve, and what it really means is just to serve your neighbors, serve your friends, just to be able to give back, you know, paying it forward, if you will. My grandmother started a prayer group with maybe 5 or 10 people, and then it grew, you know, to more people, and then larger and larger, until we finally found our home, which is on Flatbush Avenue now. When the pandemic first hit, we had a lot of members that either lost work or wasn't working, and so that they were really concerned about getting evicted. So we helped them with food, we helped them with their medication. The mayor's office also gave us over 300 cloth masks. I work at a hospital facility, and we had weekly calls that would update us on this is what's happening, and these are the precautions to take. And again, safe to serve. We just translated that in Creole, and with WhatsApp, there's this great feature where you can send out these broadcast messages, these blast messages. The first time that I sent the message and I typed it and I sent it, you know, there were about maybe 50 or 60 people on the call. That's when I put one-on-one together and say, you know what, sending the message out in Creole, sending the message out in English is great, but I speak Creole fluently. I understand Creole fluently, but I can't read it. So if you type something to me and you send it to me in Creole, it'll take me a long time to kind of like piece the words together, and instead of just cutting and pasting the Creole version, we just read it to them. So we just left audios for them, and it really helped. My grandmother, many years ago, she said, Claudia, there's this thing out there. And she said it in a Creole accent. She says, there's this thing out there called internet. Is there a way that you can find a way to tap into the internet and see how we can, you know, share our story, to be able to spread the gospel, just to be able to reach out to other people? I think my grandmother would be extremely proud to know that we're touching and we're communicating with so many people. She'd be proud.
Many resources are available for all New Yorkers. Your immigration status does not matter. For more information, go to nyc.gov/immigrants.
My name is Mario Joyce Blucher, and I'm a G9. Yeah, I know I'm a G9 just because I do genealogy, and I have researched my family back to 1663 in Colonial Virginia. So we've been here a very, very long time. So that's on my mom's side of the family, and then my dad's side of the family is a little trickier because they're from Alabama. My grandma was actually a sharecropper. So the information gets it gets fuzzy, but yeah, I mean, we've been here for, we're very much a part of this country. Yeah, I'm originally from Ohio. I'm from Central Ohio, but three of my grandparents came from the South. They came from North Carolina and Alabama, like I said. But I was born and raised on a farm in Central Ohio and really in the middle of nowhere.
I want to thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope that you will continue to take this journey with us. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so below. And if you haven't visited our website, please do so at gproject.org. Now I would like to ask, what is your G status? What is your story? We would love to hear it, and hopefully you would share it. You would share this video with your friends, your family, your coworkers. So we would all, as Americans or people living in America, would be able to discover each other. Thank you.
And since this is the last speech that I will give as president, I think it's fitting to leave one final thought, an observation about a country which I love. It was stated best in a letter I received not long ago. A man wrote me and said, "You can go to live in France, but you cannot become a Frenchman. You can go to live in Germany or Turkey or Japan, but you cannot become a German, a Turk, or Japanese. But anyone from any corner of the earth can come to live in America and become an American." This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because, unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength, from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. While other countries cling to the stale past, here in America, we breathe life into dreams, we create the future, and the world follows us into tomorrow. Thanks to each wave of new arrivals to this land of opportunity, we're a nation forever young, forever bursting with energy and new ideas, and always on the cutting edge, always leading the world to the next frontier. This quality is vital to our future as a nation. If we ever closed the door to new Americans, our leadership in the world would soon be lost.